some people think of writers as, there's the poor starving writer out there, but you can make a really good living writing. I mean, even just writing scripts, video scripts for people, you can make an amazing living on it, and it does really well. And every day brings new challenges. But for me, there's two things that I really enjoy about my job. One is I get to research new ideas or new technology, new products that I've never really would never come across my radar, to dive into a new concept or new idea, a new business model, and write about that. And that's really fun. The second thing that is probably the most exciting is when I write a script, a video script, then I get to see it come to life, where it goes to the video production side. The animators or the video production team bring it to life, and I get to see my words translated into a video. That's really fun, because it's I don't know, bringing my creation to life, more or less, and that's really fun for me to see. If I were to talk to a younger me, I would say go all in, 100% effort, and make this work, and do whatever you have to do to make those connections and upgrade your skills.
Welcome to the Job Dictionary podcast. Today, I will be interviewing Grant Bolton for specifically talking about his work in script writing that he does with his own company. Well, it is so great to have you here today, and I am so excited to get this started. I am going to start off by asking you 3 quick questions that we ask every guest that comes on.
Yeah.
So in your own words, could you just tell me what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you kind of said, I'm a freelance writer. I do a lot of work with video script writing. I work with video production agencies and YouTube channels to write out their scripts so that someone can narrate them and voiceover or do voiceovers for those. I have other aspects of my business that I do that incorporates writing and copywriting as well, but a good portion of it is video script writing.
Could you share a little bit about where you are located, and maybe could you tell me when you were a kid, this is perhaps what you thought you would be doing when you grew up?
Yeah, so I'm from Southwest Missouri. That's where I live now. Live in the middle of nowhere. It's great because I get to work from home, and I don't have to worry about a long commute. So I work from home from Southwest Missouri. And so when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a scientist. That was what I wanted to do probably since I was 6 years old. Always wanted to be a scientist. Specifically, I wanted to be an entomologist. So I wanted to study insects. That was my dream for the longest time. And I did that actually before I started writing, as I got a Ph.D. in entomology, but with circumstances and opportunities that came up, I eventually decided to start my own business as a freelance writer.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love to hear different stories of people who do have a career shift in their life. I feel like a lot of young professionals, including myself, sometimes when we're navigating that, we feel like we're going to be boxed in specifically what we are pursuing. But it's always great to hear that there's many ways to transition and combine in certain ways what you do.
Yeah. It was quite the shift too. I mean, from going to scientific writing and research, and then completely switching over to a more creative business marketing side of things. It's a steep learning curve, but it's been really, really beneficial and impactful to me. So, yeah.
That's great. Could you share with me how long you have been doing this so far?
Yeah, so I started writing probably 2016 is when I started freelance writing just on the side. As I was going through my graduate program, I would just do little projects here and there. And then January 2020, I said, you know what? I finished my degree. And I said, let's just figure out, this freelance business thing. Let's make it work. I thought 2020 is a great time to start a business.
Yeah.
But anyway, pandemic hits in March, and actually my business took off. There's actually a really big need for more video script writing and writing services for businesses. And 4 years later, still in business today. So far, so good.
That's great. And what did make you, if you don't mind sharing, want to make that transition? I know you briefly mentioned it a bit, but I would love to hear you expand on that.
So I started off actually as a voice actor before I started writing, and I would narrate commercials and audiobooks and e-learning courses. And as I was narrating more of these e-learning videos or explainer videos, I was getting scripts from companies, but they were really poorly written. And I thought to myself, I can write better than this. And so I started pitching my services to people who would hire me for voice acting. I said, hey, do you need a scriptwriter as well? And they're like, yeah, why don't you write this for us and see how it goes? And just continued offering those services, and eventually had a pretty good set of clientele. And I sort of shifted more towards video script writing more so than voice. I still do voice acting on the side as well, but for me, it's just take opportunities as they come. If I see an opportunity,
Yes.
you take it and see where it takes you. The worst thing that happens is it doesn't work out, but you still keep doing what you're doing. So for me, it's just whenever an opportunity presents itself, just say yes and run with it and see where it goes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's especially, I would say, inspiring. So I myself do quite a bit of content creation on different
Yeah.
platforms. And I'm in Texas, so far away from LA or Miami or New York. So
Yeah.
it's really cool to hear from your perspective, like you are located not in any of these big cities where I feel like it
Yeah.
is where most voice actors and this,
Yeah.
type of role does go on. So that's awesome. Do you have
It's amazing
anything?
thing about the digital world we live in is that, yeah, there's a benefit to living in those big, content creating hubs like you talked about, but really
Yes.
there's a market for everybody no matter where you are. Like we're all connected. I work with clients, in India and in Europe and in Africa, but I'm also working with clients in, Missouri, California, all over the place. So it's great about the digital world is you can be connected to anyone and work with anyone from anywhere.
That's great. And I
Yeah.
agree with that. I mean, that is exactly what we do here.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
connecting with a lot of people from all over the United States and even outside just to get perspective on this
Right.
entire perspective. Okay.
hmm
So could you shared with me a little bit about what you studied in college. Would you mind sharing where you went to college?
So I got my undergrad at Missouri State University in Springfield, Missouri, and that area is where I'm originally from.
Okay.
And then I decided to get my Ph.D. in entomology, so I went up to University of Missouri Columbia and did 5 years up there working on a Ph.D. So my degree is very heavily in the sciences, biology, chemistry, and more agriculture based as well.
Has there been any way in which you've connected that expertise that you have with your script writing roles?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been able to recently reach out um, to owners and business owners and companies in the ag tech and the pest control world, and I'm starting to here recently starting to make that connection where people are needing content. I mean, no matter what the industry, but for
Yes.
me, since I am an entomologist, I have a little more expertise in the world of insects and agriculture and pest control. So I'm pitching my services more to people in those industries, and there's been a really good feedback on the demand and need for more high quality content, and also like accurate, data driven content that's not complex and confusing, but it's simplified, it's clarified. I understand the complexity, but then I can make it simple and understandable for the public.
Yes. So it's really driven through the ability to actually tell a story in a digestible way, then, in this area. So this is really about having the ability to story tell in a very digestible way through different industries.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, stories are what connect us, and that's we're drawn to stories. We remember stories, and so being a storyteller is very important in that role.
Yeah, I agree. Especially in the current, I feel like the way business is going and what they do need to keep and stay afloat.
Yeah.
Would you be able to share with me, are there certain degrees or certifications that you see may be a trend when people are getting into this role? I know you come from a totally separate background,
Yeah.
but if there is something that you could share regarding that, that would be great.
Yeah. I mean, I'll speak to the sort of writing community in general. Because we're writing for businesses, it really doesn't matter what background you come from. I mean, I know people who come from, they used to be accountants, or they were lawyers, or they were doctors. It doesn't matter because there's a business out there who needs an expert or needs somebody. And you don't even have to be an expert. You can be completely brand new to this and still jump into it. In terms of degrees, I mean, most people think, oh, I need an English degree or a journalism degree. Like, I don't have, I
Right.
like to write. That's probably the only qualification I have is I
Yes.
like to write. And I have taken courses on how to properly write and persuasive writing and copywriting and things like that. And there's millions of courses out there you can take. But in terms of qualifications for writing is just being able to write and being able to force yourself every day to write and write and write and write. And that's the biggest thing, is just the discipline of wanting to learn and improve your skills over time. So in
Right.
terms of like a degree, no, there's people I know who have no degree and they're successful writers in this industry.
That's great.
Mhm.
And so with that, do you spend most of your day writing? Is there any different tasks that you do happen to do on the daily? I'd love to hear what a day-to-day looks like for a script writing
Yeah,
type of
I
project.
I think I probably have some sort of ADHD and I can't concentrate forever on one particular project. And so this is the best job for me because there's something new every day. I may be working with the same client, but I'm writing new content, I'm writing new ideas. Um, but for a typical day, um, it is a business. So I'm a business owner, so I have to treat it like a business. I'm not just writing, the clients aren't just coming in by themselves and all I
Yes.
do is just write all day. So I'm writing, I'm sending invoices, I'm marketing myself, I'm pitching companies, answering emails, I'm paying bills, I'm, managing clients in my CRM. So all aspects of a business I'm doing. Now, majority of the time I should be writing because that's what people are paying me to do. So I try to make sure that a majority of my day I am writing. But even when you're writing forever,
I just lost you,
it
Grant.
takes, I don't know, a lot of energy and brain capacity. And so I like to take breaks and break up my day and get out and go walk and just refresh myself every once in a while. Um, but yeah, so I would like to write all day long, but again, I have to answer emails, send
Right.
invoices, and actually manage my business. So
Yes.
it's kind of a balancing act in that
So
way.
there's definitely that entrepreneurial aspect to it, specifically to you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Are there companies out there that you might know of, or perhaps any connections of people who work in script writing but in-house within companies? Is that something that we are
Yeah.
seeing in the industry, or
Yeah.
do we mainly?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So it's split between, freelancers and in-house writers. So if there's a large video production studio or agency, they may have in-house script writers who only do, they only write scripts for their videos. Also, there's smaller agencies that may contract that out to people like me. And bigger bigger production houses can also contract that out. It just depends on what their needs are. Some people like to have people in-house, in office, they're right there when they need them, or it could be a little more temporary where, they're working with people like me on a contractual basis when they need scripts.
Okay. That's great. What is the most exciting part of your job? I know you run your business, so I know that that can, for some people, be the most challenging or it can be the most interesting. So I'm curious to hear what you enjoy the most about your job.
Yeah, so the things that I enjoy most, and every day brings new challenges, but for me, there's two things that I really enjoy about my job. One is I get to research new ideas or new technology, new products that I've never really even would never come across my radar ever. And that's really cool for me, is to be able to to dive into a new concept or new idea, new business model and write about that. And that's really fun. The second thing that is probably the most exciting is when I write a script, a video script, and then I get to see it come to life, where it goes to the video production side, the animators, and the animators or the video production team bring it to life, and I get to see my words translated into a video. That's really fun because it's just like, I don't know, bringing my creation to life more or less, and that's really fun for me to see.
That's awesome. And could you share with me what might be the most emotionally challenging or hardest part of your job?
Yeah, for me, it's feedback probably. Sometimes I hit the nail right on the head and I knock it out of the park with a client, and then sometimes a client just rips me up and says that I haven't done a good enough job, or that something's wrong, or I'm way off base, and that's hard to take. I do take that feedback well, and I have to sort of step outside myself and say, no, I'm serving the client. Their opinions and their ideas are more important than whatever I'm gonna suggest. Like in the end, they're the ones who have to, they're the ones who have this writing, and they have to use it. So I try to take a step back and say, okay, like, what is it the client that really needs? Like, let's clarify our objectives. Let's figure out where I'm going wrong, and let's move forward. But it really is. It's sort of like a stab sometimes to the heart, because you put your heart and soul into a piece of copy, and then they
Yes.
just like say, "This is terrible. This is the worst thing I've ever read." And you're like, "Ugh, okay."
Got
So
you.
feedback is hard for me. Yeah.
Yes. So the ability to take constructive criticism is
Yeah.
definitely like crucial for the role. Okay.
Oh, absolutely,
All
absolutely.
right.
Communication with the client and understanding each other's needs, or understanding the client's needs. That's crucial for this job.
So we're moving on to this fun part of the interview. We call it rapid fire questions. So
Okay.
kind of really quick, we go and you don't need to expand a lot, but I can ask you a few questions. So
Awesome.
what is a day in the life like in terms of wake up time, start time, end time, and breaks?
Oh man, some days are better than others. So I work with a household of kids that are right next door, and sometimes sometimes I'm up and early. 7 o'clock I'm up. I'm able to work and get stuff done. Sometimes my wife and I like to sleep in a little bit because it's been a rough night. So it just depends. I mean, usually I'm up by like 7:30. I'm working at 8. I try to stick to an 8 to 5 um, work schedule. Sometimes it's 8 to 3, and sometimes it's 12 to midnight. It just sometimes depends. It can be kind of chaotic depending on my client's needs,
Gotcha.
and my kids' needs. But it's really
Makes
nice
sense.
that I get to do this from home and spend time with my
Yes.
kids, so I'm not complaining there. But sometimes the work hours can be a little hectic. Sometimes I can put in a 5-hour day. Sometimes I'm working, clear through midnight and into the dawn trying to get stuff done. And I mean, that's probably more on my time management than anything, but sometimes it can be hectic about, when you're trying to get work done.
Okay, so you shared a bit that it really just depends on the client. If it's a more fast paced, slow paced, or a lot more time working, could you share if you see a trend in what seasons perhaps there is a quicker pace to your work and a slower pace to it?
Yeah, so in terms of like when's during the week, like when like Mondays are kind of hectic because everyone's getting their edits back to me on over the weekend, and so sometimes beginning of the week can be kind of hectic. But in terms of year, I don't know. There's kind of a steady pace throughout the year, but there is some problems around December. Everyone like wants to spend all their marketing budget, and they're throwing all their projects at me trying to finish by the end of the year. So December can get kind of crazy, and everyone's taking vacation time off, and I'm trying to take vacation time off. So I have to like scrunch a whole month's worth of content, or of script writing into like 2.5 weeks. So
Whew.
it can get kind of crazy in December
Yes,
during the holidays. Other than that, it's
makes
pretty
sense.
consistent throughout the year.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So I know you work on your own at home, you have your own business. Would you say, of course, the nature of the work is that a lot of it is going to be more solo work. How much time do you spend collaborating or meeting with a client to discuss where you're going with each project?
Yeah. I mean, a majority of the time I work through email. I mean, sometimes I get on a video call and conference with a client, but really it's something really brief. It's only like a 20-30 minute call that we're on, and then they just give it to me, and I'm working on multiple projects at a time. So again, it just depends on what I'm working on. But for the majority of the time, I'm on my own. I'll maybe have an email conversation with someone, and I have procedures in place that allow me to do this through email, where I just they can answer some questions that I have. They send that brief to me, and then I write it for them. Again, if they have additional feedback or want to be a little more, if they want to be coached, through my writing or my edits, we'll jump on a call. But for the most part, it's me by myself working. So,
All right. So definitely big on solo work for this specific role and
oh
career.
yeah, oh yeah.
What
hmm
do you wear on the day to day? Are you chilling in your comfortable clothes at home?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, sometimes like I'll get dressed up just to feel fancy, but it's just slacks and a t-shirt, whatever I'm comfortable in, and it's really it's always casual Fridays at my work here. So,
Yes, agreed. And that's always great to have. Let's see. Of course, you work at home. Do you think most people in this role, so if you're speaking generally for the industry, do you think this is a very remote friendly job?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's very much remote friendly.
Awesome. And I know we spoke about having those times kind of deferred day to day, but are you able to have that balance of separating, all the work you do during your working hours from that time that you want to spend with your family? Or do you find that that conflicts a lot of the time?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to well, there's two ways of thinking about it. It's hard for me to shut off like my business brain and go spend time with my family, and then sometimes it's hard to shut off my dad brain and go work on my business. So it really is a balancing act that and maybe that's unique to me for what I've got going on. But sometimes it can be hard to separate business from work or business from home life because I'm have my business
At
in my
home.
home life. So yeah, it is definitely
Understandable.
a balancing act.
All right. And could you share very quickly what are some tools or technologies that you do tend to use a lot in your day to day job?
Yeah, so I mean a laptop with Word. I mean, I have other
Agreed.
tools that I use for researching and things like that too. But seriously, if you got a laptop with some sort of word processor on it, that's it. I mean, I
What you
have
need.
other basic business software that I use, but in the end, it's just a laptop with the internet connection. And I mean, you don't even have to have a word processor. You can use Google Docs for all people care. So
Yeah.
all you need is the internet connection, and you're good to go, and a
All right.
Google account.
That's great. And a Google account is always free for a bit. So
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
good to know. So what is something that people perhaps underestimate about this profession, specifically with script writing?
I think they underestimate well, underestimating the job. I think they underestimate like how comfortable of a living you can make as a writer. Some people think of writers as, there's a poor, the poor starving writer out there, but you can make a really good living writing. I mean, even just writing scripts, video scripts for people. You can make an amazing living on it, and it does really well.
That's great to hear.
Mhm.
I just totally honest. So I am a marketing major. I kind of how I mentioned with you, love creating content. Storytelling is something that I love. And I will say as a young professional, I do have that fear. And so it's great to hear someone have those words of encouragement when it comes to a field of creation and just storytelling in general with writing. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Yep.
that. I'm sure a lot of people appreciate hearing that. Okay, so we talked about what people underestimate. Could you
Mhm.
tell me perhaps what people overestimate about this profession?
Yeah, I think people overestimate their ability to write. So even though you can make a good living at this, it does take a lot of work, and it's more than just, you know, writing a few words on a page. Like it takes, developing and building a business, developing an online reputation and presence. It takes being persuasive and storytelling. So it does take work. It really does. It's more than just slapping together, a few things or using Chat GPT to do it all the work for you. No, it takes human psychology. It takes, again,
Yes.
creative writing. So there's a lot to it. It's more work than what people think.
All right, good to hear it. What is the fastest way that you think you can really get into this profession,
Mhm.
especially if you're someone just like you that is coming from a non-traditional background but wanting to get into the field?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just writing for yourself is probably the best thing. Like, I mean, in terms of video script writing, like start a YouTube channel and start writing or start a blog and just start writing. And if you can consistently write every day, I think you're on a good track. But I think just writing for yourself and then find somebody who has a business and start offering to write for them for free. And I know a lot of people, shun the whole don't work for free sort of thing. Don't work for free forever, but you got to start somewhere to, build up a portfolio. And so I would just find somebody who has a business or whatever it may be and say, "Hey, can I write something for you? I'd love to write it and in return you give me a testimonial or you give me, a portfolio piece out of it." And I think that's one of the great ways to get started is just start writing for people for free. Use that leverage as either getting testimonials from them, getting referrals from them, or putting it as a portfolio piece, and then start pitching your services to people for pay.
That's great to know. So really it's about building that portfolio, which is very important in every creative field.
Yeah.
And then having the ability to pitch yourself has a lot to do with it. Okay.
Yes.
So great to know. Speaking and going from there, what is something that you have to be good at or like doing to be successful and good at this profession?
I think you have to be a self-starter. I think you have to be self-motivated. Like, as a freelance writer, I don't have anybody looming over my head. I mean, I have clients sort of looming over my head, but I don't have anybody over my head saying, "Hey, you need to send that invoice. Hey, you need to update your CRM. Hey, you need to update your website." Like, that's me. I have to wear both hats of the boss and the employee, and that could be challenging. Um, yeah, I would leave it at that. You have to be self-motivated in order to make it really work.
All right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that goes to right about every career. If
Yeah,
you
I
want
guess
to
so. It's
make
very
it,
vague, but
you gotta go out there. No, but specifically with this, like you are managing your own business.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have to keep yourself accountable. So 100% see how that is crucial for
yeah.
this. And regarding even with your experience, how long do you think it took you to get really good at this job? How
Ooh.
long do you think it can take a person?
Well, it depends on what your income goals are, I think. I mean, to get really good at it, it probably took me. Oh, that's hard to say. Since I was doing voiceovers from before, so I had my eyes on a lot of different video scripts, so I was exposed to a lot of it. I would say probably a year or two of like really consistently being involved with script writing. Well, I mean, I don't know. I take that back. If you kind of figure out how the format of a good video script is, you can be up and running in like 3 months, really.
Okay.
With but you really have to just study really good video scripts and study how they're formatted. And if you can observe patterns and observe what really works, then you're going to be faster at this than probably I was, because I kind of stumbled my way through things and had a lot of negative feedback. But if you can just figure out like what is working currently and the current trends for video scripts, kind of break down, reverse engineer those scripts, and then start writing like that. I mean, there's really no time limit on when you can be really good at this.
That's great.
Yeah.
And just going right off of that, because I think it would be a great way to follow it, are there any resources that you could share that you feel might have helped you improve
Mm,
or could help an individual getting into the industry improve? So think programs, books, podcasts, certifications, write about
yeah.
anything that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think so. There's one that I would probably be comfortable promoting. It's the American Writers and Artists Institute. They have a really fantastic copywriting program to get you started, to understand the basics of copywriting and content writing and just persuasive writing in general. They've got a great place to start. But I mean, sort of as a caveat, there are thousands of writing programs out there, and not all of them are the same. Um, I've stumbled through several and trying to figure out what works, but I think AWAI, it's the American Writers and Artists Institute. They have a really comprehensive program covering all aspects of writing in our economy, like businesses and anyway. So I would
Yeah.
promote that one above all.
Okay. Well,
if you're
that's great to
if you're
hear.
just
And
getting started.
is there any popular ones or anything specifically that you actually wouldn't recommend that you might hear thrown around in the industry?
Um, I don't know if there's any one that I would say stay clear of. I would say this though, if you see, because once you start looking into copywriting courses, you're going to get tagged on a whole bunch of ads coming your way. And I'll say this as a caveat, like not all that glitter is gold. That's just because they promise you're going to make six figures in 2 months from now, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So if you're tempted to buy a high ticket course, go read a book first. Find a used copy of a copywriting book that's 10, $15. Read that first and then decide if that's what you want to do.
Okay. That's great advice, actually. I
Start
think,
small.
yeah, especially nowadays, there's a lot of information thrown at you because
Yeah,
data collected.
exactly.
They just
Exactly.
know how to find you.
Good
Okay.
marketing.
So, yes, agreed. So, with what you do, you specifically work, on your own. And so, there's not necessarily promotion, but I kind of wanted to ask,
Oh.
what does that progression look like? If you're comfortable sharing in any way, what is perhaps like an average salary that
Mhm.
someone doing what you do can make in a year? Or how did that progression look like for you specifically since
Yeah.
you were building that business?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it really all depends on your effort that you put into it and how much you're willing to work on your business instead of in your business, right? We kind of hear that sometimes as entrepreneurs that you can work in your business where you're fulfilling orders, you're doing the day-to-day stuff, but it's really when you start working on your business, like doing your own marketing and promotion and putting together your processes, even hiring people if need be. That's where you can kind of take the next step. I know people and talking about salary range. I mean, typically if you put this in for, a year or so, you can make really good money, anywhere from like 50,000 to $100,000
Okay.
in that first or second year that you're really working hard on this every day. But there are people who, I mean, there's a success story I just listened to the other day where a guy who started off as a $40,000, freelance copywriter, and then he built a $1 million
Business
content
out of it.
creation agency. So there's really no limit to what you can do with copywriting. You can take this as a side hustle or a side job and make, you know, a good 50, $60,000, or you can scale this up, hire people underneath you and make a $1 million agency. It, it's hard to narrow down a range
Yes.
because you could do this for a long time and only make like a couple $1,000s if you're really bad at writing and you're bad at promoting yourself. So it really just depends on your skill set and how much effort you're willing to put on building your business and learning more about the business.
Awesome. So looks like it has a pretty high
Yeah.
market ceiling per se, and it's up to you really how much you want to dive into it and,
Yeah.
see where it takes you.
Yeah,
Okay,
but
that's
I will say a comfortable living. It can. If I feel like
okay.
I'm about average on.
Okay.
I'm not some sort of genius in the copywriting realm or video script writing realm. So I'm about average, and I make a good living and can and raise my family and work from home. So I'll give you that.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really
Yeah,
appreciate it. And I can guarantee you, like, that is something that these listeners are going to appreciate hearing, and I can like attest to it for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so I know you actually moved into the field and away from what you originally studied, but
Mhm.
when people in your field choose to make a move, do you happen to see a theme into what they go into next?
Hmm.
Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, I think people who do freelancing for a while, either they're going to be in love with freelance writing and they're going to stay in that, or they're gonna move into two directions. I feel like they're either gonna be in-house staff, or they're gonna kind of tired of freelance writing for a while, so they're gonna go toward a more traditional job where they're writing, or they can go into more marketing and sales and aspects because it's very very similar crossover skills that you learn there. But the last step that I see people doing is actually growing their own agency, where they hire copywriters or hire writers underneath them, and then they're starting to scale their business. And a lot of people do. That's another aspect. A lot of people start selling their courses. That's why I bring up there's a million courses, because
Yes.
copywriters like me, we think, oh, we can sell stuff. So why don't I just sell my skills? And the skill I have is copywriting. So we sell other people how to copyright. And
Makes sense.
so that's kind of where I see it. Either you're going to go work for somebody else, you're going to scale your business, or you're going to start selling courses on how to copyright. That's where I see people go.
Okay. Great. So definitely, I do love to hear that. It seems to be very entrepreneurial in general, like
Yeah.
where people take this to. So that's awesome, and definitely we'll keep that just noted for
Yeah.
once we have this specific role posted on the platform. And then, last and final question: what is something you would tell your younger self who was
Mm.
just getting started in this industry and specifically with script writing?
Yeah. I've thought about this question a lot. If I were to tell my younger self, like, hey, you should do this, with both feet in, jump with both feet in, because for me, I kind of just dabbled in it and I did a little bit here and there. And even when I started doing this full time, I didn't really work on my business that much. I was just kind of, here or there getting jobs and kind of making an effort at it. But I think if I were to talk to a younger me, I would say go all in, like really. I don't know how to say that anymore, but just 100% effort and make this work and do whatever you have to do to make those connections and upgrade your skills. Um, I kind of hesitated with figuring out what I wanted to do. I had so many different sort of opportunities and career paths. And so I kind of like, I'll do this for a little bit. Oh, I'll do this for a little bit. But when it was, I focused on what I wanted to do. I focused on, my niche of video script writing, of connecting with people in the agriculture and pest control industry. That's when the magic started happening. So you really have to clarify and focus on one thing. And that does take a bit of time to figure out. I think my younger self would be kind of confused of like, well, what do I do? And I have the clarity now just because I've kind of waded through the muddy waters of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. But definitely try to focus and I don't know, grab opportunities as they come. But once you have a good opportunity, focus on that for a while and don't grasp at so many different things. Like take something, run with it for a while and see where it takes you. If it doesn't work out, find another opportunity and run with that one.
That's awesome. So really just commit to what you want to do.
Commit.
Okay, awesome.
Commit to it.
Well, Grant, thank you so much for everything you've shared today. This is going to be incredibly valuable to everyone listening. Is there anything you would like to share about where people can find you? Anything you would like to close off with for this interview?
I would just say find what you're passionate about. And if you want to be a writer, whether it's a video script writer or a content writer, just find something you're passionate about and go write about it. And I guarantee there's an audience out there for you. There are people who are willing to pay you for your passion, your expertise. So just go and do it because it's fun. You can do it on the side while you have, if you're trying to do something else, you can do this on the side in the evenings. You don't have to commit full time to it if you don't want to. But if you want to make a full-time career out of this, find your niche, buckle down, really do the work, and it'll work out for you.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I could not agree more. I love everything you've shared today. Truly such a great interview, and I super appreciate you for coming in. And Grant,
thank you
so much.
You just got one episode closer to learning about the world of jobs out there. To explore the rest of our career categories and find your best fit, go to jobdictionary.com to sign up for the beta users waitlist. Then subscribe here to find the next episodes coming out this week. And as always, drop us a comment, review, or message to let us know how we can better attune our episodes to your specific needs. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Threads, Pinterest, and wherever else you're on socials to go get our short, snappy preview reels that expose you to new job options every day. Because here at Job Dictionary, we believe your big aha moment can be just one scroll away. Go check it out and get out there. Cheers!